this is Ashley with What's Up Under That. Today's episode is going to be a little mixer, a little cocktail, if you will. So you guys know that I generally do my coffee and card pulls on Sundays, but today I felt guided to do something different. And the reason why is because I am so anxious to talk about this. So, I am working on a class that I launched in 2020. I'm in the middle of revamping it. Excuse me, y'all. I'm in the middle of revamping this class, and I'm on the last section before it's like fully complete. Thank God. I've been working on this class for God knows how long. And the last portion of the class talks about masculine and feminine energy. So there is a book. Hold on, you guys. I'm trying to grab the book. There is a book that I was using to help configure the remaining aspect of the class, and I was trying to just see what else I could add in to the description of masculine and feminine energy. And something that stood out that just made everything click. Hold on, y'all, let me grab this book. Oh, there it is. So I was looking through the book. It's called Tarot and Astrology, Enhance Your Readings with the Wisdom of Zodiac. I've had this book since 2019. And I was looking and searching to find something else to add into the knowledge of masculine versus feminine. So I go to feminine, and of course it's very descriptive. It says receptive, reactive, negative, magnetic, and passive. Out of all those things, the one thing that stood out to me was negative. I said, just thinking in terms of energy, wow, that's interesting. I've never seen anything like that. And I go to masculine sign, and of course they have a short description. And it says, also referred to as active or positive. And that is when everything clicked. Now, let me explain to you guys why this clicked so much for me, right? So, I want to say it was my previous therapist that I had back in 2022. And one of the things that she told me I needed to work on was, she was like, one of the things I want to be a focus is for you to learn how to operate in the gray area. Because she said the way that you see everything is so black and white. It's either or, go big or go home. There's no room for anything in between. And, over the course of these 2 years, damn, it ain't even seem like it's been 2 years that I've been in therapy. But over the course of these close to 2 years or so, I've really been able to observe in the ways that I have an all or nothing mindset. Now, when I thought about it, I went back and I referenced the book when it spoke about how the feminine energy is the negative and the masculine is the positive. And it made me realize two things. One, there's a poetry book that I wrote called The Void. If for anybody that's interested, it's available on Amazon. It's under The Void, written by Jay Lee. That's my penmanship name. And when I wrote that book, it was just a variety of different emotions. All of the emotions, all the quote unquote negative things, all the negative aspects that it is that encompass us as human beings. And I want to say it was either earlier this year or maybe the end of last year. I was talking to my best friend and I was just telling her how uncomfortable I had become, because I said I don't know what is next with anything in my life. Like everything, it just, I don't really know. I kept telling her I don't know how to put it. And she said, what space, the space that you're in is, she said, you're in the void. She said, you're not, I'm trying to think of the way that she put it. She said, you're not where you used to be, but you're not exactly where you want to be. And she said, that can put you in a very confusing space, because it's like anything is up for grabs. And it was just so wild. Like when I had that realization, like, you know, just making all these connections just from reading this one thing, like literally just from reading this one thing. And, you know, as I've pondered on that all day, because like I've been trying to wrap my head around that all day, and it made me realize how feminine energy, there's nothing light about feminine energy. Everything about feminine energy is dark. You know, with darkness, there is no destination. With darkness is infinite. You know, it's outer space. It's the womb. It is our emotions. It is our moon sign. It is all of those things encompassing that are infinite. There is no end. If you go in outer space, there is literally no end to where it is that you may end up. And it just really blew my mind in the way that all of that connected. Now, I'm going to be very vulnerable with you guys. Something that I realized, because this is something that I've struggled with over the years, is just maintaining relationships with women. You know, in my family, relationships were maintained, but there was a lot of shit that was swept up under the rug. You know, it would be like, somebody in the family would get in a huge fight, and, you know, the reconciliation was brought back together by past time. It wasn't by accountability. It wasn't by changed behavior. It wasn't by an apology or anything like that. It was just time passed. And growing up surrounded by that, it put a strain on how I viewed my relationships with women. You know, just even as friendships, it was either I was too selfish or I was too giving. Like, I could never really find a middle ground. And I think the only time in my life that I was like genuinely able to find a middle ground, I would say it was between ages 18 and 20. I would say were really good years as far as balance a little bit when it came to my relationships with other women. Now, this is where I had that realization today, and I've also been having it over the course of these like last couple days, but it really tied in today. I was thinking about my best friend, and you know, just the way that she loves herself and the way that she admires herself is so beautiful. You know, she carries herself like a goddess. The way that she talks about herself is very goddess-like, and it's very, very admirable. But she also has that same capacity to recognize other women as goddesses, to recognize other women as God, and that not take away from how amazing she is. But it made me think too, there was a post that she wrote, and I think somebody had commented on it. Or I don't know if it's somebody commented on it or it was, it was when we were texting, and she was talking about, what exactly did she say? It was an occasion an event that she attended to, and she was just talking about the familiarity, and it's 11:11 as I say this. She was talking about the familiarity between her and a woman, and in the text message she said it was like a goddess recognizing a goddess. And in that moment, that shit was just so fucking powerful to me. Like, I really had to sit up and, like, really sit on that. And when it came down to it, I realized that is something that I have struggled with, you know. Like I told you guys in the past, I was either too giving or too selfish. And, you know, there's been times where, the way that she sees herself is the way that I see myself, you know, a goddess and just, you know, all those things. And then there's been times where I have met other women and I've seen them as a goddess, but have not seen myself in that same light. Like, I would naturally put these women on a pedestal. And I noticed too, this was a very bad habit that I had within my friendships. I would be so enamored by the women that I'm friends with, and all of them are absolutely fucking amazing. Let me just say that. All of my friends are fucking amazing. And it's just like, I would be so enamored by them that I would essentially put them on a pedestal. And in doing that, I would not recognize my own greatness. I would not recognize my own qualities. So, you know, amongst what I've seen, you know, within my family, it opened up a wound of insecurity that I did not realize was there, because I was just like, oh my goodness, like, they're so amazing. Why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? Why can't I be like this? Why can't I be like that? And I realized that was where I fell short. I was so busy putting women that I saw and viewed as goddesses, you know, my best friends, on pedestals, that I was not able to view myself in that same way. And it's initially too because, you know, just even growing up, like even in high school, when it came to me and other girls, everything always seemed so competitive. So it was almost kind of like I was in my I was equally both in my masculine and feminine energy, but more so in a masculine energy because I was so guarded. You know, I was so guarded because I didn't know who to trust. And just, I can probably count on one hand the friendships that it is that I had growing up. The friendships that it was that I had growing up where we're essentially, you know that sign, how they say real recognize real. You know, I was very secure in myself within those friendships, and over time it was just many different situations that chipped away at that security that it was that I had within myself. And then, you know, got older, and, you know, and it's like, I think something that it is that I've realized is those wounds never fully had the opportunity to heal. They just opened and closed and opened and closed and opened and closed. Opening and closing the same wound does not allow it to heal. It just allows it to get infected when you are surrounded by people that are not adequately nurturing it, so to speak. And it literally, I kid y'all not, it wasn't until a couple days ago that it clicked, and I realized, like, that is something that it is that I struggle with. I struggle with being able to see the people that are around me as a reflection of what I am because of me putting them on a pedestal. And I feel like there are other women that could probably agree with me. And because, you know, we as women, we deal with insecurities, and, you know, sometimes, you know, love bombing is very possible in friendships. Like, we are so enamored by other people and their beauty and their capabilities and the things that they're able to do that we don't see our own greatness. We don't see what it is exactly that we are capable of. And it was just so wild how in that moment I had this whole realization just from me putting together a class. Like, all of this came together from the class. But I think too, you know what made me, and it's crazy because as I'm sitting here thinking about it, like having a conversation in my head, I'm like, okay, if the masculine energy is the positive force and the feminine energy is the negative force, which one exactly is our ego? Because you remember that song Beyonce said, like, the ego song. And essentially what she was talking about was having that bitch energy, having that, I'm that nigga energy when it comes to being a female. So it's like, if the masculine energy is that positive force, the masculine energy is that light, what exactly does that look like with the feminine energy if it's negative? What does that look like? So does that mean the feminine energy is dark feminine, and our masculine energy is our light, our loving light, or whatever it is you want to call it? Just something to think about, because y'all, this is how I have conversations in my head when I'm trying to make things make sense. This is exactly how I have the conversations in my head. Now, I had to pull this book back out because I wanted to touch on something. Let me see here. Okay, so even here, this is what I was looking for. It says, like, for Leo, ruled by the sun and ruler of the 5th house. This energy is regal, warm-hearted, loyal, generous, dramatic, proud, creative, domineering. And the 5th house rules creativity, procreation, and recreation. Now, let me look up Cancer, because Cancer is the moon. Now, Cancer says it's emotional, nurturing, protective, sensitive, sentimental, sympathetic, intuitive, instinctual, and it rules the home and the family. Now, that is where I am lost. Now, even here, it says for the moon is reflection, inner life, in the cycles. And then it says it symbolizes emotion, memory, mood, and motherhood. Now, let me look up the sun. Now, the sun, it says, okay, that makes sense. It says it symbolizes self, ego, will, purpose, vitality, individuality, pride, authority, and fatherhood. And then, of course, creativity, recreation, and procreation. Now, that makes more sense. So it says how the sun is ego, and the moon is reflection, inner life, and cycles of life. So I guess, with the moon phases, that makes sense. The dark feminine energy is never, I feel like the dark feminine energy with that masculine and feminine energy is just all things encompassing, because everything is a cycle, just like the moon phase is just like a menstrual cycle. We have the part when our cycle is preparing, and we have the part when our cycle is ending. We have those moments where it's like a boost of creativity, or like a sensualness to us, as you will. And then there's that moment for rest. Our moon cycle is both, as it's described, it is both active and it's passive. There's moments when we're active with our moon cycle, and there's also equally moments where we are passive. And it's necessary, because it's almost kind of like that saying, if you're always winning, if you're always up, when do you find time to come down from it? When do you find time to rest? And whenever I think about something like that, I always tell myself, like, imagine if you were nominated for a Grammy and you had to get ready, you had to prepare and everything. Imagine if that happened every single night. You won a Grammy every day. You got nominated every day or even every week. So you had a Grammy show that you had to go to literally every single week. There was never any downtime. There was never any rest. And that's just how that was. And that's kind of the way that it is that I envision that. Whenever, like, I tell myself, whenever, like, I get in those moments with that extra dopamine, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't ever want this moment to end. And it's like, if this moment never ends, how do you allow yourself the room for more moments like this to come? Or even if there is something better than this moment. Now, that is the first part that I wanted to talk to y'all about. Now, here, the one thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was I wanted to do a reading. Eclipse energy is coming up. And whenever between the eclipse and the retrograde, I always love to do self-care readings just to give that extra guidance of what additionally does your spirit need right now? What is it exactly that your spirit could use from you? So let me grab my self-care deck, and we're going to see what spirit feels like. What extra self-care do you need to tend to at this time? What do you need to do to prep your body in your energetic space for Mercury in retrograde? All the things. So let's just see. The first card that fell out is Smoke a Blunt. I'm crying. Spirit is saying she wants you to get really centered. I'm also hearing smoke clearing and clarity. So there could be things that you've been wanting answers to, things that you've been too wound up. Everything has been too wound up, and spirit is like, it's time for you to unwind. It's time for the smoke to clear. It's time for you to really gain the clarity that it is that you need. The next one is drink tea. So obviously herbs are a thing here. Also too, I just heard, like, if you're into shrooms and stuff like that, now is a really good time for that. Spirit is saying there's missing pieces to the puzzle that you have been searching for, and everything is all about to come together. Now, Spirit told me to pull this out. The next card here is custom folks out. Like, there's people that have been playing with you for too long. There's people that have been getting away with shit for too long. And Spirit is just like, it's time to set the record straight. It's time to say what it is that needs to be said and get it off your chest. And essentially with this, following up with setting boundaries, And it's like, what I'm also hearing here too is it's been like a sense of gut intuition, but you not knowing how to approach it. So Spirit is just like, this is your time to say what it is that you need to say, and let bygones be bygones and move forward from that, and just let that be. Peace be still is what it is that I just heard, for who or however that resonates. Peace be still. But also too, I do want to say this because that we are approaching or getting ready to step into Aries season. Be mindful of your words. be mindful of how it is that you say certain things, of course, with cussing people out, because when you say certain things, there are things that you cannot take back. So be mindful of that. Next here, what does Spirit say? Learn a new hobby. That just in and of itself just seems like a complete 360. Learn a new hobby, And what I'm also hearing here too with smoke a blunt and drink tea and then learning a new hobby is Spirit is saying you have been uptight for so long. And I feel like too, it's like really that mixture of Pisces season. Like your head has been in the clouds and now it's time for a sense of action. Now is a time to focus on cultivating a better space for yourself in how it is that you handle conflict. Now, Spirit is also saying for somebody this may apply to, cussing people out is not going to be the answer. It's not. You need to find healthy coping skills to cope with your anger and cope with your emotions. So, whether that's drinking some calm down tea, whether that's smoking a blunt, just whatever the case is. And for some people, Spirit is saying you need to smoke a blunt because you need to be able to sort through your thoughts. You can't just be coming at people recklessly. You can't just be saying anything out of the side of your neck. And now that sounds completely crazy considering the previous message that was given. But Spirit is like, for those that are like, oh, this is my time to shine, Spirit brought it back in like, it's not. And that message could very easily be conveyed in two different ways. But Spirit is saying you have to learn how to better transmute your emotions. You have to find a way to cultivate that energy into a different way. And it's crazy because low-key, high-key, that's been the message all day. Because like the best friend that I was telling you guys about in the very beginning, I was thinking about her earlier, and I was just thinking about a situation that her and I was discussing, and I'm just like, that is absolutely one of her gifts. Like, she is absolutely amazing at transmuting energy. Like, truly. But then it also made me think too that there was a post that I wrote that said something about stepping out of creating out of pain, but it brought me back to the poem book that I wrote called The Void. Like, there was just so many emotions and so many different things that I was encountering at that time, and the emotions were too overwhelming for me. So I'm like, I have to find some way to transmute this. So I decided to invest, that's what I'm gonna say, invest that energy into my writing. And as I'm saying that, like, I'm getting hella hot. So that could even be what it is too. Spirit is telling you one of the ways to kind of get yourself through this heightened energy that's going to be coming up, making things hot and heavy, is to write it out, write it, burn it, whatever it is you need to. You cannot obsess over these constant thoughts and emotions, or ruminating, because that's also been a word. You can't keep ruminating over the same thing. Write it on paper, burn it, and release it. That's what Spirit's telling you to do right now. And let's see what else we got here. Meditate. Whew. So really, I've never did a reading where it's like smoothly transitioned from one message to another. Because the fact that it went from, cuss them folks out, to no, maybe you just need to calm down. Maybe you just need to drink some tea. Maybe you need to have a discussion, because that's also what I'm hearing here too. This Mercury in retrograde is going to teach you how to better communicate with people. If somebody has to be the bigger person in these situations, and it's like if you feel like the conversation is getting heated with this person or people, you have to be the one to say, you know what? It feels like emotions are really heightened right now, and I don't really feel like we are reaching a middle ground here. So I do feel that it would be best if we kind of separated, or took some time to breathe and then come back and have this discussion. And it's crazy because that was the same message that Spirit gave me earlier when I was driving, because I caught my own self in a heated debate, and it was just like, Spirit was like, you could have handled that a lot better. And I was just like, what, girl, what? And she was just like, sometimes when you see that things are getting heated, instead of trying to overly insert yourself into a space where there is a point to be proven, maybe the best thing to do is remove yourself, going back to what I said in the very beginning of the podcast of the negative and positive. The masculine energy is forward energy, charging, and the feminine energy removes herself. So if there is nothing that you can add to an argument or a situation to where that things can become neutral, you need to remove yourself from it so that things can flow more easily. Because when you're doing that and you're butting heads, it's like trying to put two magnets against each other. When we were younger and you used to flip the magnet and you would feel that little ball of energy in the middle? That's exactly what that is. That little ball of energy is the tension in the argument. And if you are not trying to take your ego out of the picture in order to see everything as a whole, in order to see everything from a different perspective, you're not going to reach anywhere. So Spirit is saying too, with that card I just pulled last, meditate and sit with your spirit. This is going to look different for everybody. This can be, while you're crocheting, while you're doing dishes, while you're folding laundry, whatever allows you to direct your energy to one thing in the moment so that your thoughts flow clearly is what it is you need to do. Because Spirit is saying, while Aries is also action oriented, Aries is a cardinal sign, so it is solution based. What are we going to do to fix this? What are we going to do for this to look different? So yeah, let's see what else Spirit got here, what you can do. So the next two cards that fell out is monthly, weekly check-ins, and do not disturb. So Spirit is saying you need to be more intentional with taking time for self. And that was another thing I was going to say too. When I looked at Aries, it says it rules the first house of self. So this retrograde is telling for you to call your power back. It's inviting you to call your back. It's inviting you to be selfish intentionally. Put your phone on do not disturb. Pull yourself away from the hustle and bustle of life to be like, what's going on? Like, are we good? Are we straight? Is there anything that I need? And I found myself doing this the other day. Like, I was just all over the place, and I asked myself, what do I need to feed myself to feel whole? Like, what is it that I need? And what it is that I did today, I realized, like, I was still trying to ride this wave of energy from a previous day. Like, it was just a really great day. Like, I was just happy every single day. And I was like, this morning my spirit was like, you need to turn your phone off. You need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this. So, I turned my phone. My phone was probably turned off for like 3/4 of the day. I read a book that I've been putting off reading, and I worked on my class. And I redirected my energy to myself. But I feel like too, this could also be a sense of money with, coming into Aries season. Be mindful of how it is that you're spending your money and making sure that you are not impulse buying. Now, Spirit caught me with that because I was out like shopping earlier, and I was just like sliding my card, tap, 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 tap. And I'm like, sis, you need to slow down. And I kid you guys not, there was 2 things I was looking for. I was looking for bead containers, and I was looking for a metal tin because I have like some products and experimenting that it is that I want to do. So I go in one store, and the lady's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I just cleared that out. We don't have that anymore, or whatever. And I'm like, okay. So, as I'm getting ready to go drive to the other store, I look at my mileage on the car, and it has angel number 252. Now, if you have read my angel number book, 252 pretty much tells you, it's pretty much saying don't play yourself. It's time to call your power back. And the way that Spirit translated that for me was, you've bought the necessities of what you need today. You don't need that metal tin right now, and you don't need those bead containers. What did I do? I said, girl, okay, fine. I'm not going to get the bead containers, but I'm at least get the tin. Still didn't listen. Go in Michael's, and they have no tins. Literally none. I go in there. I said, oh, well, since I'm not getting the tins, let me at least look and see if they have a bead container. They don't have it. Hobby Lobby had it, but Michael's did not have it. And in that moment, it made me just realize, sis, even too, what it is I've been doing here lately is creating a budget for myself. And I've been creating a budget for myself. And one of the things that I said was, this is how much money that I have allotted myself to spend in Hobby Lobby. I gave myself a $30 budget. It's not hard to stay under that because Hobby Lobby always has sales going on depending on what it is you buy. I buy a lot of beads from there for waist beads and anklets, so I never almost literally never have to pay full price for beads and things like that. So I was like, you know what? I've only spent about half of my budget that I've allotted myself for Hobby Lobby. Let me save that instead of just spending what's left of that. So that's going to be another theme here is don't do impulse buying. Especially during Mercury retrograde. That makes me think about this commercial. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. This girl had bought all these crystals because she thought she needed all these crystals for Mercury in retrograde. And when she went to go and return it to the credit card lady, to the lady, because she purchased it on a credit card, she showed her the sign, no return during Mercury in retrograde. So do not make any impulsive, huge purchases. You need to ask yourself if this is a want or is this a need, or what value exactly is this going to add to my life. Spirit, what else we got here? I feel like Spirit is talking stuff. The next 2 cards we have here, and you could be seeing angel number 77, so this could be a combination for you. Spirit saying, take this time to get rid of old shit. And the next thing is go on a date. So, I feel like somebody here has been involved in the dating game and you're just like, oh, I don't want anything to do with it. I'm tired, I'm done. But Spirit is saying, this is your energy to be courageous. This is your energy to do something that you've always wanted to, but never had the opportunity to. I'm hearing, ask that person out. Ask that question. This is the energy where Spirit wants you to utilize it. Spirit wants you to be courageous. Spirit wants you to ask that question. Spirit wants you to put that content out, is what it is that I'm hearing here. So this is something, to prep yourself for. If you deal with stage fright, if you deal with issues with public speaking, if you deal with issues, period, utilize and hone in on this energy to what's the word? Hone in on this energy to make the first move. That's what it is that I was going to say. And with get rid of old shit, it really doesn't feel like anything tangible. It really just means, this is a time to get rid of old habits. This is a time to get rid of habits that are no longer serving you. And this high key brings me back to when I was taking a nap earlier and I woke up and 2 cards fell out of my surrender deck. It was surrender to ego and surrender to unhealthy relationships. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, Lord, Spirit, I got to let somebody go again. And she was like, no. Like, I asked my ancestors, they said, no, we want you to surrender to the unhealthy relationship you have with your ego. My ego is always wanting to block somebody. My ego is always wanting to get rid of somebody. And I told you guys, I have not had the best relationship with women in the past. So I'm like, oh my goodness, who do I got to get rid of? And Spirit was like, you got to get rid of your ego. And not so much in a sense, because I've heard people say it's not about getting rid of ego, it's about integrating. And it's like, it's not so much, I need to get rid of it. I need to get rid of the habits that are connected to it that no longer serve me. And as I say that, it's 11:44. I've been seeing this angel number like crazy, y'all. Let me bring up my angel number book. And here it is. Still on 252. Also, if you are interested in this angel number book, it is available on my Facebook page and Instagram, and the link in my bio. So I don't have 1144 in here, boo-hoo. So I'm gonna just go with the closest thing. 144. It says 144 is a sign to stand up for what you believe in and stop playing it small. When you focus on what you were ordained to do, you will prevail. So that just goes back to that whole be courageous thing that it is that I was talking about. Okay? Now, I'm also hearing here, somebody is going to be receiving an opportunity. Spirit is saying, this is the time to get your ducks in a row. This is the time to get prepared with, okay, what am I going to say? How exactly am I going to present this? Because that came, I completely skimmed over the get organized card. That's exactly what that is. And the fact too that it's right next to the do not disturb and monthly, weekly check-in, Spirit is telling you, okay, you're taking this time to pull back from all of this heavy energy. What do you need to get organized? What exactly do you need to start preparing for? I just heard for somebody it could be a trip. For somebody it is a trip out of the country. So make a checklist, What are all the things that it is you're going to need? What are things that you're going to need to make sure you have with you on this trip? And it's so crazy. Like, I feel like Spirit was really talking to me today, but I didn't really realize it until in this moment, because I have a trip that I'm going on next month. And I was like, something is telling me I need to print out that checklist so I can make sure that I have everything that it is I need. And boom, here I am saying it in a reading. So if that was a confirmation for me, I know it's a confirmation for somebody else. So, get organized, make a list. Even if it's not so much you're going out of the country, if you're going out the house, period, make a list. Because going back to how I told you guys, I had my phone turned off. Not only did I have it turned off, when I went to all the places that I had to go to at the store today, I left my phone at home. Now I bet y'all like, how did you remember what all stores you had to go and see? When I made my list, I put the items on the checklist, but I made sure I wrote the store next to it. So I knew each store I had to go in without remembering it on my phone, or having the list on my phone. Give me a second, y'all. I've been talking for 45 minutes straight. My voice starting to go out. Whew. Had to quench my thirst real quick. My voice was starting to dissipate. The next card here is study. At this point, this collective reading is starting to feel personal. So, Spirit is saying, you have things you've been wanting to brush up on. You have things you've been wanting to dive into. Spirit is saying, this is your opportunity. So it's two things. Things in general that you need to brush up on. And I feel like this could be connected to whoever has a presentation or something that they're going to be presenting. Spirit wants to make sure that you are on your toes. You're on your P's and Q's, T's crossed, I's dotted. Like, this opportunity that is coming in for you could quite literally change your life. Like, it could quite literally change your life. And Spirit is saying, utilize this energy of Aries season retrograde as a preparation. Like, this is, for some people, this is not a time to really be putting yourself out there. This is a time to utilize this energy and the momentum that it is that's gaining to prepare yourself, because you are about to receive an opportunity that could either make you or break you, or it could essentially level you up. Now, I said that was going to be the last card, but Spirit is like, we're not done. We're just getting started. So, what do we have here? Meal prep. So, y'all, that's obviously, see, I kid y'all not, that's the theme that's going on here, is prepping. And Aries season can tend to be very busy. There's a lot going on, and I just heard here too, do not make hasty decisions based on heightened emotions. I don't know who needed to hear that, but do not make hasty decisions based on heightened emotions. But like I was saying, meal prep, there could be a lot of hustle and bustle. There's going to be a lot of things going on, activities going on, and Spirit is just like, how they say summer bodies are built in the winter. And I'm hearing specifically for somebody too, you've been trying you've been trying your best to make sure that you are staying accountable when it comes to you eating. I just heard macros. So it could be like gym wise. I'm also hearing too, you could be going to the gym, but taking part in Ramadan, or this could even be for somebody that is participating in Ramadan. Spirit is like, the reason why your energy has been so shitty is because you literally have nothing to eat. You're not meal prepping whatsoever. You're not. There's literally, it's time for you to break your fast, there's literally nothing for you to break your fast with in the fridge. So the best way to execute this and to ensure that the remainder of Ramadan goes in the way that you want it to is by meal prepping. So take advantage of that. I also heard meal prepping on Sundays. And a lot of times though, people will think meal prepping means you have to make everything. You don't have to necessarily make everything. Like, if you're cooking and the one thing that you hate to do is chop up things or season or do marinades, do all of that on Sunday. Put your meats in a bag and marinate them on Sunday, so when you go to cook that day, it's done. Dice up your tomatoes, dice up your onions, or whatever it is that you cook with, and put that in a container, so the day of, all you have to do is throw it in a pot. Remember, we are going to have to really maintain a balance in our energy field, going back to that masculine and feminine energy. We're going to have to maintain that balance. Of course, there is action in creating those meals and things like that, but there's also that negative, that feminine aspect, that flow. Where can you create space? Where can you create flow? Just like how Leo said for the sun, essentially the yin and yang, sun and moon. how sun is about creating. It's about procreating. What space can you create for yourself ahead of time to allow things to run a lot more smoothly? I also just heard, as I said that, for somebody setting timers. And that fell out for me earlier when I did my self-care reading of like what I needed to know. You need to set timers for yourself. You can't just keep saying, oh, I forgot. Because at this point, forgetting is not an option. It's not an option, and it's not an excuse. You have resources available to you to help keep you focused and keep you on time and keep you accountable. And you're making up excuses as to why you can't do something when you have the means to do so. So, yeah. At the bottom of the deck is play a video game, drink water, and social media detox. So, right now, if you feel inclined, like I said, I feel like it was 2 energy groups here. The first one, hit the ground running, and then Spirit was like, okay, let's tone it down. So the first message could very much so have the first message flowing into the second part of the message very much so could have been for that first group as well. And that's what I was talking about, that Aries energy is that and it's like, bro, reel it back in. So yeah, if you heard the first part of that message, Spirit said, find a new approach. Don't try to face things head on. Take a step back, think logically, think about a healthy way to approach the situation. Because that's also one of the opportunities that's coming up for you. You've asked for, you've probably been saying in your affirmations, I communicate my needs with ease. I communicate in a healthy manner. And now Spirit is holding you to that. She is making sure, he, whatever, they are making sure that you stand on that. Oh, you're an amazing communicator and you communicate in such healthy ways. Like, Spirit is making sure you stand on that. Spirit is making sure you stand on business. So I'm going to wrap this up with some affirmation cards. What are some things that you can affirm to yourself through this high energy time right now? So let's see. First card fell out. I am confident in my abilities. So whoever the first part of the podcast resonated with, just about like how I was telling you guys about dealing with insecurities or putting people on pedestals. Put yourself on a pedestal. Equally acknowledge yourself as you do others and tell yourself, I am confident in my abilities. I am confident in what it is I'm capable of. And remember, capable, when you break it down, just means able. What are you able to do? Which also just ties back into abilities. What are you able to do? So we're going to pull 2 more cards and see what affirmations the Spirit want to give us. The next is, the light in me acknowledges the light in others. So I told y'all, like I said, I don't know who that message also resonated for. But Spirit, what I just heard with that is the goddess in me recognizes the goddess in you. You see, I just love how effortlessly this reading just flowed. Like, this shit just really flowed like melted butter. Like when you put cold butter on a hot roll and it just melts so effortlessly. I love that. I love it when the cards align with what it is that I feel guided to speak about, and I don't know why. And the last one here, I can't make this up, y'all. I can't make this up. The last card here is, my emotions are balanced. Remember, I told you guys, do not go into situations heated. Think about what you need to say before it is that you say it, and find better ways to approach situations. No, I gotta pull one more card. I gotta give y'all one more. Okay. I'm gonna still give y'all another card, but the next card that came out was I am prepared for the unseen. And that just goes back to what I told you guys about, you being given an opportunity. You're being given an opportunity to prepare yourself, so you're prepared now. Prepare yourself for the unseen. I am open to unexpected miracles. Keep a positive mindset. The last card here, what affirmation do we need for eclipse and retrograde? What do we need to affirm? Another purple card. I create clarity with my stillness. And just like how I told you guys, how I told you in the beginning of the reading, about you drinking the herbal teas and smoking and meditating. Clarity comes in moments of stillness. So you will receive and reach the answers you're looking for when you slow down. And then at the bottom of the deck is I am open to learning how to communicate better. I can't make this up. This is why I need to switch over to start doing podcasts with videos, because I wish I could show you guys these cards. I can't make this up. The next one is I create space for myself to flourish. Now, didn't I literally just say, y'all, utilizing that masculine energy equally? Not masculine, that's procreation. Utilizing that feminine energy to create space. And then the last card is I listen to understand, not to disagree. So, and that brought me to a card that fell out earlier. The card was surrender to the need to be right. You don't have to be right all the time. Give others the opportunity to speak their piece and be right as well. So that is the reading. I hope you guys enjoyed this little mashup of podcast / coffee and card pull on a Wednesday type of vibe. Let me know how y'all feel about this. I don't have an official page yet, so I'll leave a comment box on this, I promise, because I know I say that in other episodes, but I do not make a note of it, and then I forget. But let me know. Comment on here. Hit me up on Facebook, Brujas to Blunts, Brujas Blunts and everything in between LLC on Facebook, or message me on Instagram, brujastobblunts.llc, and I will talk to y'all soon. All right, bye.